Tulsi Gabbard. She's the author of For Love of Country, Leave the Democrat Party Behind. She's the former vice chair of the Democrat National Committee. I feel like people leave that part out of the bio from 2013 to 2016. Congresswoman from Hawaii, and has endorsed Donald Trump for president. And relevant to today, she is the one, of course, who took on Kamala in two of the debates in the 2020 Democratic Party primaries. Tulsi, how are you today?
Hey, good morning, Mike. I'm great. How are you?
Thank you for being here. I'm curious, what did you see in the polls, and what was the lay of the race back in 2020 that made you even think that Kamala was someone that you needed to spend time going after?
Oh, at that point in the race, it was very clear she was being handled with kid gloves by the mainstream media and the Democrat elite leadership. No one was challenging her on her record and the hypocrisy that she showed of saying that she was proud of her record and being and how she was going to be a prosecutor president. But no one ever asked her about her record. It was very similar to 2016 when Hillary Clinton ran for president, and everyone said she was the most qualified person ever to run for president in our nation's history, and listing out her different titles in government, but never confronting her about her warmongering record. This is going to be the same challenge that Kamala Harris has in tomorrow's debate. She's been vice president for the last 3.5 years. She has a very clear record on all of the important issues that the American people are most concerned about, both domestic and foreign. She's trying very hard to run away from those. President Trump also has a very clear record on those issues during his first term in the presidency. And so she's going to have to be confronted. President Trump knows her record very well. She's going to have to answer some tough questions about why she didn't fix the things that she is now claiming are broken.
Style-wise, we played actually both of those exchanges, there were a couple, but from the two debates in full about a week or so ago, just so we could try to learn something from it. What do you think it was about those exchanges you had with her that resonated so much?
I didn't come at her with any kind of personal attack. I just repeated and reminded the American people about her record, or something that they may not have heard of before. And once again, and I think there are some similarities here, she had not been challenged or questioned by any other candidate on that debate stage in the primary about her record, nor had she been questioned about it by the media. They would list her titles, but once again, never questioned her about the record she claimed to be proud of. She appeared to be quite unprepared to answer for the record, for her own record. And again, I think this is going to be her challenge now, and I have no doubt she's preparing for it. She's locked down for the last week in Pennsylvania, going through rigorous debate prep. So she is not to be underestimated. I have no doubt they've been watching that tape as well, and that she's going to come in with some pretty well-rehearsed lines that she'll be able to deliver very effectively.
Yeah, she's pretty good at that, right? I mean, she'll be able to come out and say, we've created 10 million jobs, and we did this, and we did that, and he's a felon, and I'm a prosecutor. Like, she'll be able to deliver it better than Joe did a couple months ago, surely. Will that trick people? Because, listen, the only reason Kamala's vice president is because she did a good job with the "that girl was me" thing against Joe, with the buses and stuff. So, what are we to do with that? When the media goes gaga over it?
Well, they already are. They have been, when you look at the mashups of headlines and, the top pieces by the different media networks that might as well be campaign ads for her, they are already paving the way for her to try to sail through this on what they call the vibes campaign and not actually be confronted with her record or how she explained in her policies how she will do the things that she says she wants to do. Kamala will deliver some very well-rehearsed lines. I have no doubt that's what she's doing now, is memorizing those lines and doing so by being grilled with a Donald Trump stand-in. But she's going to, again, in the same way that I did with her in 2019, how she does in those unscripted moments, how she does in response to the truths and facts that Donald Trump will be sharing with the American people that she does not want them to know, This is going to be very revealing.
So she has walked back 20 different things. She hasn't. Her aides have. Her senior aides have. And I wonder if she'll ever be asked to explain for that. But let me ask you, and you can give us an example of how one properly and honestly explains. You were the head of the Democratic Party, and now you're endorsing Donald Trump. So what was a pivot for you on an issue that made you switch parties, leave the Democratic Party and endorse Donald Trump?
I think thanks for asking that question, Mike, because this is a really important point. Of course, people have the opportunity to evolve, to learn, to look at their surroundings, look at how the country is changing, look at the consequences of policies, and constantly look and say, how do we do better? How do we better take a better approach to solving the problems that we face in this country? And for me, I wrote a whole book about it, and I talked through my experiences, and I talked through the things that I witnessed and saw through being vice chair of the DNC in my 8 years in Congress, what I experienced during my campaign for president, that ultimately drove me to leave the Democrat Party. And those main reasons why I left the Democrat Party, I talk about in my book, For Love of Country, but really the core of it is I could no longer associate myself with a Democrat Party that was completely unrecognizable from the party that I joined over 20 years ago, that at that time was still the Big Tent open party. It was still the party fighting for the little guy. It was still the party that defended free speech, even if they didn't like what that speech was. It was a party that really, in many ways represented the values of President John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King. I left the party because today's party is doing the exact opposite in undermining our Constitution, censoring and taking away our freedom of speech, undermining our Second Amendment, undermining our Fourth Amendment right to privacy and the protection of our civil liberties, dividing us based on race, tearing us apart, doing the exact opposite of what Martin Luther King preached. These are some of the many issues that drove me to leave the Democrat Party. Kamala Harris is, and this is something I think President Trump is going to be able to point out over and over again, is Kamala Harris claims to stand for freedom. She's using that word a lot in her campaign speeches, and yet she has a very, very strong track record and evidence of her undermining our fundamental rights and freedoms that are enshrined in the Constitution. Her record is what voters need to pay attention to, because her rhetoric is meaningless. They're empty words, and they are lies, and we need to call them out for what they are.
I think it's really easy to say, I was against fracking, then I learned this good thing about fracking, and my concerns were alleviated, and now I'm for fracking. Like, that's totally, everyone would be like, oh great, like that's no problem at all. But she's nowhere near that, like not even close to anything like that.
No. And like you said, she has not done a single solo interview since she became the nominee, or even the presumptive nominee. Not a single solo interview. She has her campaign spokespersons, many of them anonymous, claiming that she's changed her positions on all these different issues. But she hasn't come and spoken to the American people again, or put herself in a position where she's asked. These are not tough questions, really. These are basic questions that any candidate running for president should be prepared to answer. To say, as you mentioned, you once supported Medicare for all. Now you don't. Explain to the American people why that is. You once wanted to ban fracking so badly that when she was the Attorney General for California, she sued the Obama administration because they were, over this fracking issue in California. She was trying to stop these fracking projects in California. So again, fine. If she has new information, we would hope our leaders evolve and learn when they are presented with new information. But that's the issue with Kamala Harris, is none of that has happened, directly or indirectly through her staff. And she has not put herself into a position to speak to the American people. She claims saying, she doesn't want to talk to the media, she wants to talk to the people. Well, the media is that medium and platform to speak to the American people of this country. And this is one of the things that I think is a big slap in the face to voters across the country, and really a sign of her arrogance is all of the hype that went up to that dual CNN interview, it really made me feel as I watched that in Kamala Harris's mind, she is gracing us as voters with her presence for that 60 minutes and 39 seconds that she actually spoke during that interview, that somehow we were fortunate to be able to hear from her when really, hey, we are the ones who are in a position to hire you. We need to know more about who you are and what you really stand for.
Last question. When we watch the debate tomorrow night, and when you're watching it, what will Trump need to do in order for us to watch it and be like, he did it. That's what needed to get done? What is that thing?
We saw that thing in his debate with Joe Biden. He was focused. He continued, no matter what happened with Joe Biden, he didn't get personal. He stayed very focused on the issues that are most important to the American people and kept reminding voters about the truth of Joe Biden's record. He will do the same with Kamala Harris and not allow her to get away with the lies that she's telling the American people. President Trump is looking forward to this debate. He knows her record. He knows these issues. He talks about them almost every day. And this is going to be the opportunity for the American people, for the first time with Kamala Harris, to be directly confronted with the truth about her record, which in so many cases stands diametrically opposed to the rhetoric that she is using.
Tulsi Gabbard, the book is For Love of Country, Leave the Democrat Party Behind. Tulsi, great to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Have a great day.
Keep up the good work.